Happy New Year! You are listening to the BlahCade podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me, as always, in the future, Jared Morgan.
Hey, hey, hey. Yes, for the future I am. It's Sunday here, and things are looking good so far. So
far.
You guys in the Northern Hemisphere?
Yes, we are. Southern California is, well, actually, all of California is experiencing a moisture spell, which is very good for us since we are so drought-ridden. But they have said up in Northern California, the Pineapple Express has flown in, and to give you an idea, they described it as a river of rain in the sky.
A river of rain in the sky.
And the major ski resort up north, Mammoth Mountain, they are expecting 20 feet of snow in
20. Jeez.
20 feet in less than a week. So
wow. So there's actually not going to be any buildings left up there. It's just going to be like little peaks of buildings sticking up if you need to get into any of the ski lodges.
I always imagine that the ski lifts are basically going to be about 5 feet above the snow.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, well, that's going to be easy. You just jump off them wherever you want and just go back down the mountain again.
Yeah, it's amazing. With that kind of snow dump, Mammoth will be open for skiing probably all the way into July, which is just insane.
So it'll have that much snow banked up, I guess, that it will be able to sustain skiers going down it for that long.
Yes.
Wow, that seems incredible. Yeah. Wow.
it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So we have only gotten drizzles here down in Southern California. We're expecting all week, though, to be getting douses of rain. So that should make driving on the freeway rather fun because we have no clue how to deal with that.
No. I think I've seen some snow falling in weird places. I follow this account on Twitter called Silverball Museum. And they actually, I think they're like, I don't know exactly where they are. You could look them up on the internet, but they have snow down there, and that's really unusual for them. So, yeah, very strange times indeed.
That's right. No such thing as climate change.
No. It's deny. There is no such thing as climate change. Repeated over and over and over again.
Yes. Meanwhile, we are let's see, less than 20 days away from the apocalypse here in the U.S.
Oh yes, that's right. It's a T minus. Yeah, what is it? The 8th now. So it's the 22nd.
Yeah, something like that. 21st. Well, 22nd for you, I believe. 21st for us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that'll be great. Not.
And already, not to get on political rants here or anything, folks, but already the wall that Mexico is supposed to be paying for has now been thrown. That now we'll have Congress try and figure out how to raise taxes for it first, and then we'll have Mexico pay for it later.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, which means it'll never happen. Which means win basically.
This reminds me of when football teams try and change cities, or they threaten to change cities, and in order to stay, they beg the city, the residents to fork over the money to build a new stadium, because you're not already worth $1 billion or anything. Yeah, let's just give it to the public. It's like the worst Kickstarter ever.
Yeah, it is. It's like, we want something, you're going to pay for it.
Yes.
So deal with it. And that's my sales pitch. So have a nice day with that.
So speaking of Kickstarters, the last time I talked about the stress cube that I had purchased and fiddle around with in my hands while doing the podcast here, and we were informed, or I was informed then, that that's not the original. And they're not the ones that did the Kickstarter. In fact, the people that did the Kickstarter, they are known as the Fidget Cube. Now, I did a little research on this. Turns out the guys that came up with this idea for the Fidget Cube, they held the Kickstarter. They were looking for something in the nature of 16 grand to fund this thing.
That's not that bad.
Not too bad. They got funded to the tune of, I believe, $6.3 million.
Wow, that's not bad.
Not bad at all. Now, obviously, what happened was, because this was so successful and got spread across all the news, everybody else decided, hey, let's jump on board with that.
What do you mean China just said, oh, that looks nice. We'll just go to the Kickstarter page and totally copy that design and then sell it for 99
Exactly, because in fact, they have not shipped out any fidget cubes yet.
You're kidding me. So they've been left at the starting post.
They are still waiting to ship out to all their Kickstarter people. Now, I'm not sure if that's... I'm going to caveat this with saying I'm not 100% sure on this, because I have seen videos online of people in the UK that have gotten the official fidget cube, I believe. But I may not be wrong about or correct about that, because it turns out that there are also Chinese knockoffs that are using the exact name fidget cube and packing them away that way.
I ordered one.
Right.
It didn't cost me $19 US. It cost me something like $10 Australian.
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing, Jared, and we'll see how yours turns out. But it turns out that the knockoffs are really, really quite crappy. For instance, there is a ball bearing on the cube that you can push in and rotate nicely. And it turns out that on most of the Chinese knockoffs, the ball bearing does not push in at all, and it's really hard to scroll with. Also, the little combination gears on mine, it spins freely, and on the some of the Chinese knockoffs, it's like click, 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 click. It's really hard to turn. Other things are the little 5-button dice. They're made of rubber, except for the Chinese knockoffs are made out of hard plastic. And whereas this one has 3 that click and 2 that make no sound, Chinese ones, all 5 of them click. So there's apparently all sorts of little shortcuts or whatever, which made it, and the Chinese ones are made out of plastic, whereas the fidget cube is made out of vinyl. So interestingly enough, Stress Cube, made out of vinyl, has the rubber buttons, has all the features that seem to be with the fidget cube. They are also going for a patent right now, but on their website it actually says not associated with ANSI Labs, who is the ones that are making the true fidget cube. Fidget Cube is expected to start shipping out this month to Kickstarter people, and then people that have ordered pre-order are expected to be shipping out in February. So the real deal should be getting in people's hands soon. That being said, Stress Cube, and now if you go onto Amazon and type in Stress Cube, again, tons of them. Not the official Stress Cube one either. Not that we sold by the site. So so you would have to go to thestresscube.com in order to buy the one that I bought, or you can go to ANSILabs.com. They're the ones that are creating the actual fidget cube, the true one. So I'm kind of interested. I'd like to actually get in my hands the actual fidget cube and see how much different it feels from the one I had. The one issue I had with mine, the little joystick on top on my cube, started sticking, so I didn't care for that. For those watching the video, you can see I have it stuck in place now. It doesn't walk back like it should. So I got a hold of, I sent an email to the Stress Cube. They got back to me real quick and sent me a replacement one.
Oh, that's really good.
As opposed to what some people were saying when they tried to contact some of these knockoff companies, where they got zero response at all. And one person actually went and looked up their address that they had listed, went and visited the place, and it was an empty shell of an office.
Yep, that's pretty common.
So, buyer beware. I'm very curious to know what you purchased there, Jared.
Yeah, mine was actually branded Fidget Cube. I think it's got a little box with Fidget Cube on it.
Yeah, I know. And so, the videos that I've seen of the Chinese knockoffs are exactly identical to that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I will see it. I could tell you that for what it is, I wouldn't be paying $20 US for it and then having to pay $30 to ship it over here.
Right. Yeah.
So if I can pay $12 for something that may work for a little bit and maybe 80% work, don't work, but everything else works, then I'll be quite happy with saving $40 Australian on something that kind of works and I can fidget around with it.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth $40. I can say that much.
No.
So anyway, I just want to.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, just want to throw out the originators there, ANSI Labs. They're the ones with the official fidget cube. But I still like this one from the Stress Cube.
Yeah.
Other things. Let's see. There has been some pinball, and we will get to some pinball talk. But you know what? It's the new year, and every new year I go about doing my annual list of movies that I saw in 2016.
Hooray! And
Hooray!
Hooray!
This is Jared's favorite segment because I bet Jared has seen maybe 10% of anything that I list, and that's being generous.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not, because on the flight over when Euro trip extravaganza, they actually had a lot of movies that basically hadn't even been released here in Australia. Or some that had just been finished their season here in Australia. So I did actually catch up with quite a few movies on the plane. So there might be a little bit of overlap here. You never know.
Well, we'll see. But this year I saw, new to me, 99 movies.
99?
Yes, as in the year 2016.
That are new to you, 99. Okay, so that's not 99 actual releases that were released in 2016, because
because it's one of those things where I can't possibly keep up with movies in the theater. So this year I only actually saw 14 movies in the movie theater. Everything else was on Netflix or rentals. That's how I catch up with most stuff. And obviously movies that come out in December, which are your awards movie bait, those I don't see them in the theater in December, right at Christmas time or whatever, because most of them don't even get wide release until January. And so those are the ones I'd catch later on. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rattle through my best, my better than average, my worst. And then what we're going to do is save the rest of the conversation for a backroom BlahCade. That way we can actually get to pinball talk. So, this being a rather sucky year for movies.
It hasn't been super great, has it?
No, it was rather depressing. My best list doesn't even come to 10 movies, and 3 of them were from 2015. So
yeah, okay, that's short. Yeah,
it is short. Topping out my favorite of the year, Deadpool, which, if you had have asked me in February that would have been my favorite of the year, I would have laughed because I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I didn't. There was a whole bunch of movies that were coming out that I was like, oh, surely those are going to be better, and nope, not so much. Then rounding out the rest, in no particular order, Captain America: Civil War, Steve Jobs, which has fantastic writing. The Big Short, which totally explained the housing market crash here in America, and just really hit me because it turns out that I was one of those people that bought while this whole sequence of events was happening. And
I remember seeing The Big Short. It was awesome.
Harrowing.
The movie itself. The dude who predicted it and had to hold out.
Yes.
Until it actually happened, he had balls of steel. All the investors just going, sell, give me my money back. Rah! He was just going, nope, it's going to happen. Just chill.
Yeah, you really wouldn't think that a movie about mortgages would be the least bit interesting. But
it is a fantastic movie.
It's like watching Ocean's 11.
Yeah, it is. It is an amazing bit of cinema. Just the story it tells, and just how terrible the mortgage market is in America for it to happen like that.
Yeah. Then I got Ghostbusters, the extended cut for the 2016 version, and that really is on here purely because it's absolutely stunning 3D. And even if you're watching it 2D, it's a fantastic presentation. One of the best disc presentations of a movie I've seen in a long time, and so it gets on this list purely for that. I did enjoy the movie though.
I saw it on the plane, so it wasn't any sort of good quality, super Blu-ray quality or anything, because it was on a plane system. But it was had the right balance of humor. It was silly. It was great. It was pretty much Ghostbusters, what Ghostbusters needed to be, and it was good to see how they incorporated the original actors back into the movie again. So in different, completely parallel universe roles, which I thought was really cool.
I also saw Creed and put that on my best. Now that is the you might call it the Rocky reboot.
Okay.
And it's one of those films where Rocky movies are really, 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 really good when you see them in a movie theater because you feed off the crowd. And this one I saw at home, and it was still just really, really good because it really comes full circle on Rocky's story, even though he's not the star of the movie. He winds up being the trainer. But if you were to watch the original Rocky, I would say watch Rocky 3, and then watch Rocky Balboa, and then this. You would have the total summation of the Rocky story.
Okay.
In more of a, with Rocky 3 being kind of the cheese of any of them, but Rocky Balboa and Creed are very much played straight. But I can't recommend Rocky movies not have Rocky 3. So anyway, last of my best for 2016 that I saw, The Shallows. That's the one with Blake Lively. She's a surfer. And
the shark.
Yep.
That was terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I know.
On the trailers. I hated it.
I know. Yeah. I really thought, oh, this is going to be just complete cheese. And you know what?
It's going to be like Sharknado or something terrible like that,
Right, because it's one of those things where you're like, well, why in the hell is the shark hanging around? What, has it got a vendetta? You wouldn't buy any of this, right? Well, here's the thing. There's a whale that died out in the shallows. And so a shark is feeding off this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's sticking around, because this is a huge food source for it. But it can't help but when there's active swimmers in the water, go after them too.
Because why not? Fresh meat.
Fresh meat. But it's really played out quite interesting. And it's one of these things where it's, in a lot of ways, think of it as a movie where somebody is trapped and air is escaping the room. That the oxygen is escaping. It's that same kind of feel, except for here you're not talking about oxygen. It's the water is rising on this
tide.
Yes, the tide is rising, and soon she's going to be shark meat or shark bait. So
it's a suspenseful. It's not really horror, but it's like suspense.
Thriller, and
sort of.
It plays out fairly realistically for the most part. And I found the conclusion of it exceedingly satisfying. So it just was. A lot of times, things that make my best list or make it purely for the fact that they stick with me and I can still recall many sequences in them.
Okay. I might add that one to my wish list thing because it's available now on Google Play.
Yeah.
So I might rent it and give it a go.
Yeah, like I said, I really didn't have high expectations for it. Maybe that's the other thing. I didn't have high expectations and it exceeded what expectations I did, but I really enjoyed it. Moving on to my better than average that I saw. These are films that I thought I had a really good time watching them. I would recommend them to anybody, but I didn't like them enough that I would be like, yeah, that was the best of the year.
Amazing.
And like I said, this year has been so just
Yeah. You've sort of had to go back into the back catalog to sort of get anything you'd want to really watch, right?
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, some of these better than average I actually did purchase because I can't help it, and you'll figure out which ones I did. So here we go. Better than average, and these were listed in the order that I actually saw them throughout the year. So first one, Chef. That's the Jon Favreau runs a food truck.
Yeah, that was awesome. Love that movie.
Yep, that was pretty good. Straight Outta Compton, which is really, really solid.
Nature's biography, something.
No, NWA's.
NWA. Someone else.
Not by nature would be a R&B group. That'd be a different tale completely. Zootopia. Which was the animated movie. Yeah, it's fun. The Hateful Eight. Look, I pretty much love anything Tarantino, and although it wasn't as good as Django Unchained or Inglourious Bastards, his recent stuff, I still am a sucker for his writing, and that's one of those that I purchased. In the Heart of the Sea, which is the Moby Dick retelling, Ron Howard movie. The Revenant, just a brutal film.
Yeah, I remember you talking about The Revenant when it was released, and just how brutal it was, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I'd want to go and see that one. That's not really something I'd dig.
It's not exactly
I've heard it described as like brutality porn or something like that. Someone had a name for it.
Yeah.
And it was just, not really my idea of a fun romp in the cinema.
Movies like that are though, I like watching them because I sit there and I go, oh, holy crap, I would die in about 10 minutes back in those times. It's just, I can't imagine what people had to go through to live through
that sort of hardship.
Yeah, it's incredible. X-Men Apocalypse. I found it disappointing for what I hoped it would be, but I love X-Men movies, so it still ranks better than average for me. But
I think I watched it on the plane. I think it was, I forget. It was that good. I forgot. I don't know if I watched it on the plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not. It's certainly not. One of the better X-Men movies, but again, apart from X-Men: The Last Stand, I love all of them. So, I'm a sucker for them. What can I say? A movie called Man Up. This is a British rom-com. Stars Simon Pegg and I'm gonna blank on the gal's name. She's on Children's Hospital. Lake Bell. That's who it is.
Okay. No idea.
And I normally don't watch rom-coms. This thing pretty much went through every romantic comedy trope and flipped it on its head and found a really original way of telling a dating story. So I rather enjoyed it for that. Okay. The side story that I thought was hilarious is Lake Bell, she's American, but she didn't bother telling anybody that when she went and made the movie over in Britain. Mm-hmm. She had a British accent that she never, ever dropped the entire time she was there. And everybody thought she was British. and at the end of the movie is kind of about a gal that takes somebody else's identity by mistake, you might say, and gets paired up with somebody else, for a blind date. And at the very end, at their rap party, she was like, I just want to say, this movie is about, taking other people's identity. And then she went into her American accent and she got booed. Everybody was
booed.
Yes, by the crew. Everybody was deeply offended that she'd fooled them this entire time.
Oh well. Sucks to be them. They should have picked it. That's hilarious.
Moving quickly through here. Let's see. Finding Dory. Nothing wrong with that. It's a very serviceable Pixar movie.
There was a lot of completely unbelievable crap in there, but yeah, whatever. Let's go along with the story, shall we?
Exactly. Doctor Strange, which I thought was a pretty damn good Marvel movie also.
Haven't seen that yet. I think it's probably something I'm going to try and see at some point, probably like 3 years from now. Like I tend to do with all the Marvel movies.
These next two, everybody went gaga for, or at least a lot of my friends did, and I just kind of went, well, it was enjoyable, but I didn't go like, oh my gosh. First one, Hell or High Water. Couple of crooks in Texas robbing banks because the bank is trying to rob them. And the other one is Arrival, which is aliens.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, aliens come down and we try and learn how to communicate with them. Again, I enjoyed it.
Boring as hell.
You found it boring?
Boring as hell.
See, that director, he plays everything very neutral. He doesn't try and put you on a roller coaster. He doesn't try and push your emotional buttons. He just kind of lets the story tell its story. And fortunately, there's certain key elements in there that I like, but I know people that just went nuts for it. So
they got a huge, when I decided to rent it and say, oh, this has got amazing reviews, we should watch it. Like it had like a 90 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. And I've since found out that Rotten Tomatoes seems to be a terribly poor judge of an enjoyable film. Because there's been a couple of other 90s ranked things. I think Sausage Party was one that I saw the other day. Yeah. They had a score of 83 or 85.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was mildly amusing. And the end scene, which I won't spoil for you if you haven't seen it, but it was just Seth doing all the things that he wanted to do in a movie and couldn't because in a live action movie, so he made an animated movie.
Right.
and just basically mind vomited all over the screen.
See, I'm not a huge Seth Rogen fan at all. I kind of find him annoying, so that's why I haven't watched that one.
Maybe just get this one out as a rental and switch your brain off and go along with the party. There's some funny elements in it, but it's yeah.
Jon Favreau makes another appearance on the Better Than Average list as a director with the Jungle Book, the live-action version.
All right, that was all right, was it?
Found it just completely enjoyable. And I'm not usually a fan of these taking something animated, Disney, and live-actioning it, because too often it's just like, well, why didn't I just watch the cartoon? But I thought it was really, really well done, and especially since there ain't a single creature or jungle that was actually real. The entire thing was filmed in downtown LA at a soundstage. So
I was gonna on the subject of that, I'd actually managed to go and see Rogue One on the weekend. Yeah. There's plenty of Uncanny Valley in there, isn't there?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it, and actually Rogue One made my Better Than Average list. It didn't bother me in the least, truth be told.
I was looking at it going, something's just not right here.
Yeah, some people. I won't spoil the. Well, I mean, by now it's got to be spoiled for how many people have seen it. But one of the people, they brought back General Tarkin, or Grand Moff Tarkin, and they did it through CGI and actor and all that. It didn't bother me in the least. I think I was just kind of engrossed in the fact that he was there and telling the story. So I wasn't bothered by it. I know some people are. My problem with Rogue One.
Enjoyed the story. I'll put it that way.
My problem with Rogue One was the first half of the movie, where it's basically them assembling the group of rebels that's going to go steal the plans. I didn't find the assembly of the troop all that interesting. Now, part of the reason also might have been I saw it at 10:45 at night, and I was fighting off sleep.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, see, I saw it during the day, and I didn't really have a problem with that. I sort of took it as more like establishing, for the end, the big end scene, like it's a build up to it.
But it's also one of those things where apart from Jin, I couldn't tell you a single character name. The names were impossibly difficult. None of them rolled off the tongue, and so that kind of bugged me. What I really did like, though, was the whole end sequence, because I'm not a Return of the Jedi hater. I have no problem with the Ewoks. As a matter of fact, I absolutely love the Ewok battle. I love the space battle. I could care less about Luke battling the Emperor and Darth Vader. So I always would fast forward through the lightsaber battle and just go to the space and Ewok battle. And I love about Rogue One, no lightsaber battle, but we had a space battle, we had a ground battle going on at the same time. I was like, woohoo! You cut out the fat.
It was pretty good. It was great. Space and and they were both really great. Like the battles and just the sequence of events in both those things, they felt like they actually really did feel like a war. And I think sometimes you see the big, like the massive scenes and stuff like the Clone Wars and something like that, and it was just like this. It was just too much. But I think in this particular movie, they got the balance right.
Yeah,
it was believable. I think believable from a science fiction perspective. That it was a battle.
It's one of those. I definitely need to give it another shake, whether I see it in the theater again or I'll definitely buy it once it comes out on Blu-ray. But anyway, moving on. The Accountant. Ben Affleck, slightly autistic. He's an assassin. Sounds completely stupid, and yet it was pretty dang good.
All right.
As in a B movie sort of way, it was way better than it should have been. Let's put it to you that way. Not as good as I thought The Shallows was, but it's that same kind of where you saw the trailers and you're like, "What? Oh, come on!" But I gave it a shake, and I enjoyed it. Bloodfather. You may be going, "Huh? What the heck's that?" Mel Gibson.
No idea.
Mel Gibson, ex-con, daughter gets in trouble, and he tries to get her out of trouble, and trouble tries to get him, and he shows him what for. So it's Mel going crazy, which I love. Nobody does crazy like that. So
yeah, it's true.
Really, I mean, it was. It might have had like a 2-week release in the theaters, and then it went straight to digital download, which a lot of times you sit there and you go, that's a bad sign. But
yeah, that's a bad sign.
But you know what? Absolutely give it a shake. I really thought it was much better than what you would think. And again, if you're a fan of Mel just getting angry, then you'll have a good time. And then the last one that I saw on this list for the year is called Green Room. Green Room is about a punk band that goes and does a gig at what winds up being a white supremacist clubhouse, and that is owned by Patrick Stewart. And
okay,
things go bad, and they need to escape and get out. It is a brutal movie that is absolutely a thriller and quite good.
Okay.
It's very enjoyable. And that's all I'll tell you about the movie. But yeah, it like I said, punk band playing in a white supremacist clubhouse that's headed by Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting pitch to the studio.
Yeah. My worst for the year, Need for Speed. I believe we talked about this in a former podcast. Hot Tub Time Machine 2. I believe we talked about that one being just every bit as terrible as the first one was good.
Right.
The Vacation remake, which just made me very, very sad.
Right.
Poltergeist reboot. When you can't even do a single thing slightly better than the original, just give up.
Yeah, totally.
One that is nowhere near from 2015. As a matter of fact, it's from the early 90s. But there was a director's cut that I finally got around to seeing, and that is Nightbreed. Wow, what a terrible piece of crap movie that it was. It's a Clive Barker film.
All right.
And it's one of those that I kind of went, wait, there was a time I actually liked this movie, and the director's cut was supposed to fix any of the problems that were with the original. And instead I came away just going, who read this and went, yeah, green like that? There's because I've read the actual story, the book that he wrote about it, and the book was pretty good. The movie, absolutely terrible. And then last but not least, why couldn't I have this on my worst list when everybody else did? Mordecai, which was that Johnny Depp movie with his mustache, and Gwyneth Paltrow was in it, and it's dreadful. And I pretty much watched it all the way through because I couldn't turn away from the train wreck.
You hate watched it. You actually hate watched it all the way through.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my annual movie list. Again, I can go into more because there's many more, like all my special awards that we can get to
later
in a BlahCade back room. Okay, let's get into some pinball, shall we?
Next episode. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. First things first. I finally got around to playing Gladiator and Doctor Who Masters of Time.
Okay.
Gladiator. Is it me or is there something wrong with the tuning on this table? The left and right, the left ramp and the right called spinner loop.
Yep.
I cannot hit them to save my life by aiming. The ball just goes on these funky angles, and it's really highly annoying because that left ramp you got to hit all the time. There's all sorts of times when it's being called for to hit it, and I can't get it in a flow. It just does not go at the angle that I want. So I don't know, Jared, have you messed around with it?
Oh, I did when it was under beta testing, but I didn't touch it really much after that. The left ramp. It's a late shot from the flipper, from what I remember anyhow. So you do have to be quite on the tip of it to get it up there. It's weird how they've actually got the ramp position on the playfield. And it's a long ramp too. So it's a long way up to the top there.
Yeah.
So if you don't get it right on, you will rattle back down on you. So if it's doing that and you're experiencing that, then that's right, basically.
Now on the
it's got to be
positives, on the positives in terms of a Gottlieb Premiere, this falls into the category of say arrow-wise, I believe, of teed off. And I say that based off of all you have to do is look at the apron and see what lights they have, because they like to put those lights on multiple tables. It was almost like, oh, we made them for one, let's use them for all.
That's right. Yeah.
But the voice call-outs, the way they kind of did the call-outs and some of the sound effects kind of thing, it just reminded me of being from the era of teed off, as opposed to doesn't feel anything like Victory or what was the latest?
Oh no, it's definitely not Victory. It's not that system.
No.
Yeah, it's basically the same era as Stargate and all those Gottlieb, the sort of DMD Gottlieb premieres.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing I noted is that there's a mode called Fire. It's announced as Fire and Rain, but I think on the playfield it's actually Fire and Ice. So they couldn't even link the name of the round to the name on the playfield. I think, from memory, I would have to go back and verify, but I believe that's actually what it is in the game. So it's great quality checking there, guys. So anyhow, that was that.
Yeah, that's about all I had time for with Gladiator, though. I was like, yeah, it's forgettable.
That's about all you need with Gladiator.
Yeah.
That'll be enough.
No, I take it back. That's from something else completely. That just popped into my head. Remind me to talk about Judge Dredd for a moment, Jared. Moving on to Doctor Who Masters of Time. I want to say that, you know what, Farsight did a pretty good job with it, all things considered.
It hasn't been released on Android, so I have no idea what it's like.
It's not terribly, I mean, none of the shots are different. Let's put it to you that way. The rules are slightly different. They didn't alter them too much. The only difference on the playfield is instead of having a 2-ball lock that you can see, it's the 3-ball lock by shooting them into the TARDIS itself.
And they're virtual, so they're like they're not held. They're just like, you would call them software controlled if it was a real game,
right?
Yeah, like Attack from Mars.
Yeah. The thing that I love about it is that I can understand every single call out.
Okay, it's good.
That alone gets me playing it more than the regular Doctor Who.
Yeah, because the poor old pre-DCS sound effects in the original Doctor Who are pretty warbly and garbled.
The bummer is that the call outs are kind of just random. You know, it's that, hey, we've got a whole bunch of voice call outs, let's slap them in. You know, you hit a bumper and it slaps, you know, talks about it, but it doesn't feel like you're in the middle of a mode and call outs are being called out only for that mode. It's very
sort of just triggered rather than staged.
Yes.
So when you hit a target, it's the same call out all over again.
So that's a bummer. That's a bummer. The DMDs that Farsight did, because they did all new animations for quite a few. I mean, they did quite a few animations. Really good job. I mean, they did a really good job. Right. So I was quite pleased with that. And then the one other bummer is we don't get the Doctor Who theme.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was kind of like, oh, we couldn't pay for that. Bummer.
Yeah, or we weren't just given that as part of the package, you know, with the close collaboration with BBC, etc. Like, come on, really? Oh well.
So here's what I would like, fingers crossed. And I was talking to Heretic earlier today, and he was really going off about it. And I was like, well, mate, it ain't gonna happen. But you know what? Maybe if enough of us raise a stink, Farsight, don't give up on the table. If you can still implement rules, if you can still, you know, maybe be more cohesive, do what Stern does. They release a table, and then for the next year, they keep on doing patch updates and, you know, rule changes or whatnot. Don't give up on this table.
Don't just leave it. Yeah.
No, nurse it. Listen to feedback.
Roll it in.
You know, it's out, so don't feel like you know, nobody's waiting for it and going, you know, pressuring you. But take your time. If you come up with anything new, throw it in. Give us some, you know, it would be wonderful to have this table update and again, take community feedback of what they would like to see now that they've got their hands on it, and maybe implement it, maybe put it in. So that's all I'm saying. I would love to see them continue to tinker with it, but I don't think they did a terrible job at all. I think they did a very commendable job. It's certainly not Ghostbusters.
Fair enough. Okay, that speaks volumes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully at some point they'll release it. I think they couldn't get it out before Christmas because there was just too much stuff in the pipe.
Right.
But I think they're looking at getting it out on Android this month. They're already doing a a test on a Stern Pinball Arcade update in beta. That's supposed to fix a fair number of issues. Some of the ones that have been reported and some that have been reported haven't been fixed yet. So like anything in software development these days, particularly games, it's an iterative process. So just stand by.
Yeah. Okay.
Good thing.
Judge Dredd. So while it's on my head, I finally got around to actually playing that. It's been, you're like, what? That's been out a while. Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes it takes a while. So I was messing around with that. And I was having a good time. And then it got to the enter your initials spot.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. When most people do this, the default when using a controller in Pinball Arcade, they have you using the trigger buttons for your flippers. Well, the triggers are not, it's a slow response. It's a long pull. So I always map it to the shoulder buttons. Above those.
Yeah, that's how I've got my control set up. They're the digital on-off buttons rather than the analog triggers.
Exactly. Now, when it comes time to enter initials, you always have to use the triggers to enter your initials. The shoulder buttons don't enter the initials. Okay. Well, it turns out that on Judge Dredd there was 4 buttons.
Yes.
And Farsight likes to usually have the secondary buttons. You just flip and map them, right? Well, because I have them flipped on the map, but because whenever you normally did initial entering, it always just defaulted to the triggers. You can't enter your initials. It's impossible. Using a controller, it is absolutely. It doesn't turn around the mapping, and instead it just you can't select. You push the button to move it either or, and it just selects it. You're not even pushing the select button on your controller. It's just automatically selecting. I don't know, something's jacked up, and I'm not the only person that has this issue because I looked it up on the forum.
Doesn't happen on Android. It's fine on Android.
Well, that's because you're using touch. You said you're using controller.
I'm using controller. It works fine.
Well, on Android. It does not work fine at all on Steam, and it was rather annoying to me.
The thing is, we can't map our buttons. We only have 2 ways of switching our controller. So we basically got touch. We got button mode A and button mode B. Button mode A sets the triggers, and button mode B sets it's the other way around. So it basically just swaps the function on the 2 shoulder buttons, and that's it. So we don't have the configuration you guys do in Steam, which is why it works. So because it's very locked down, and that's probably for a good reason. Button mapping is fine, but I've said this before in the podcast, but getting controllers to work in a game is actually really, really hard. Really hard. So it actually cost the team at Butterscotch Shenanigans to get the controller implementation for Crashlands working. It would have taken them about 50 or 60 hours to get it right. It is hard stuff to get right.
It's interesting that you say that, because you were messing around with a game called Snowball on Steam. Or excuse me, not on Steam. You were messing around with it on Android.
Android, yeah. Yeah, Snowball's an interesting sort of take on pinball, I guess.
We'll get into what it is, but first I wanted to talk about why I got involved. So you inquired about whether or not they had controller support for the Android, correct?
Correct.
And they did not. So then they said, we do have it for Steam. And I was like, well, hey, I could be glad to, give a sample and try it out. So they sent me the code. So I was able to download it and try it. And yeah, their controller scheme is all sorts of wonky.
I admit in the conversation we had to them that they kind of guessed with how it worked. And that's fine, because if you're not into pinball, if you're not into digital pinball, you don't really, I guess you haven't really done your market research, or you haven't actually played other titles, you wouldn't know how to set up a controller right. So yeah, they kind of guessed, and they got it probably about 60% right. But there were some big things that just weren't right. And what were those things, Chris?
Well, for starters, everything is swapped backwards, you might say. The nudge is with your right analog stick instead of your left analog stick. That's annoying. The plunger is your left analog stick, not your right analog stick. So they kind of flip flop that. There is no navigation with the controller in the menu, so you still have to use mouse. So that's kind of a bummer. So it was little niggly things like that. I emailed them what I thought would be better, and basically it was all just, why don't we go with what the standard way of doing things that Zen and TPA and the Ask Homework, or wait, it's not Ask Homework anymore. Zachariah.
Yeah.
Why don't we go with what they've all done and not what you've done? But
and that's pretty much, I think that's what they're aiming to do. So
yeah,
I think they're actually pretty good. They're a small little studio, BlahCade Studios, and they're pretty responsive. They're actually toying with the idea of putting control support in for Android, and I sort of said, look, give it a go, but don't be surprised if it's really quite difficult, or more difficult than you'd think.
Yeah.
And then I showed them a bit of the lessons learned that we've seen on Farsight, and the way they've chosen a particular API, which is the Moga API, which back about 2 or 3 years ago was a really popular controller, hardware controller that had its own integration layer. And I think it's actually caused some more troubles than it was worth, rather than just going with the default Android API for controllers. But I said, so don't do that. Just go with the standard Android one, and you basic in the game. So navigating menus won't be hard for them to wire in, and the game itself, very simple controls. So
yeah, very simple controls.
I don't think they're going to have a lot of trouble doing it at Android, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to be like something that happens. It's just something we've told them about, so they can do with what they like. We're happy to help them out. So
yeah, if you're wondering what kind of pinball it is, the closest that I can come to relating it is, hey, do you remember Space Cadet? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I'd probably recount it quite a bit like if you've ever played a Game Boy game called Revenge of the Gator, and you enjoyed that game, chances are you're probably going to enjoy this. It's instead of being split over multiple screens because of the limitations of the Game Boy, it's basically one massive play field. You can see at all times, and the ball, even the gameplay and the physics and everything reminds me a little bit of Revenge of the Gator in the way it is. Like, it's certainly not super realistic physics. So if you want that, this is not the title for you. But if you just want something to flip around on the train when you're going to work, or you just want something casual to play, and you're not really wanting to get deep into anything, then give this a go. It's not that expensive to pick up, and yeah, it's a fun distraction.
It's a distraction, and it's got music that all I could think of was the Peanuts gang. It's got this piano music going on. Oh yeah, I should probably find that.
Actually turn off. No worries in Android.
Good.
And you can switch between music on and sound off, sound on, music off, and music off, and likewise, it just toggles through. So if you don't like it, you can turn it off and put on some thrash metal instead.
Hey, Farsight has been updating the Stern Pinball app. The controller support on Steam has gotten better. It's still not 100% there, but it has gotten better. Good news! You can now enter your initials. You weren't able to do that prior. They have also announced that it will be cross-purchase, cross-buy, however you want to say it, for any Stern table that you already previously owned in Pinball Arcade. It will be open for you in the game. It's already been that way on Steam, but it'll be coming to iOS and Android shortly. They made an announcement of that.
Yes, I saw that as well, which is good to see. One thing that's a little disturbing is that on Android, they're actually doing what I feared they would do. And the last time we spoke about the fact that they had opened up the device list quite wide. I think what they're actually doing now is they're actually tightening that device list. So that may bite them in the bum. but that will remain to be seen.
Other things pinball related. Jared, did you happen to see Stern's Aerosmith table?
Yeah, I did have a little squiz at the pictures.
Did you see video of it though?
Looks no, a very, very short one, not extended gameplay.
I saw a video of it, and not so much the gameplay itself that I cared about, but their DMD, because they're now going full video DMD.
Plasma, yeah, full, yeah.
And I gotta say, it looks fantastic. I really, really liked it because it conveys all the information very clearly, which is my big problem with Jersey Jack's tables, is that it's just this.
Yeah, it's very busy up there on the
info that you can't figure out. Yeah.
Not very gleanable, which is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's what you need with pinball. You need to quickly glance, see what you need to do, and not have to actually scan an entire 26-inch plasma or LCD and go, okay, that's what I need to do. And by that time, your ball's drained.
Yeah, but I found what they did to be a really nice evolution of a DMD screen into full plasma with full color and video and all that other jazz. But some people were going, oh, I wonder what this means for Stern Pinball app. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't really mean hardly anything else, because it's not the DMD does not take up the entire back box like Jersey Jack's does. So it's just a larger DMD, kind of on the lines of what Frankenstein has.
Yeah, you'll notice that with Frankenstein, it's slightly bigger, but you'll notice that the dot grouping is a lot tighter, so it looks a little bit crisper. And that's, I think, all we would see in the app. It'd only just be a little bit crisper, which is going to be really interesting to see performance-wise how they get around that. Because adding another color screen layer with emulation on top of that, wow, that's going to be fun times.
We'll see. We will see.
Indeed, see. The first one that they have it on is Ghostbusters, isn't it? Or no, Batman 66 is the first table with the color DMD, isn't it? From Stern. So it'll be that one and then Aerosmith. So we'll see how it goes. I think those will probably, you'd expect those maybe a year at least, I would think.
From coming,
have a look at the titles they're releasing now. Yeah, have a look at the titles they're releasing now, or they're just announcing now. Like, we're talking Ghostbusters is a future title, and that will probably be out for about a year by the time they get around to doing it. Woe Nelly as well. That's Woe Nelly's been out for a while, but that won't be a big challenge for them, I don't think. But I think it seems that in these early stages, it looks like they're about a year behind,
which is fine.
Release, which it's not great though, because it's, I don't know. You might look at it as like the relationship that movie theaters and home video had, where they wouldn't release it for a certain amount of months after, because they needed the studios to get and the cinemas to get the most sort of gameplay out of it. And arguably, you could say the same about this app and a physical pinball table, in the fact that you want the arcade owners to get maximum coin drops into it while it's new. But, there's an opportunity here to actually have the app as a companion to the pinball machine. So a lot of locations might not actually have their machines in the same place for a year. So, it might be down your pub for a year, and then it finally comes out on Pinball Arcade, and you can learn the rules and really get into it better. And then it goes. So, you don't really have a chance to exploit it anymore, or you really get into it.
Well, here's what I would say.
As well.
I would say that Stern is probably going to wait and see what the release of this app does for interest in their more modern tables that people can actually still get a hold of. If they start seeing an uptick in sales of their tables, then that would probably inspire Stern to maybe push to get these newer tables out closer to actual release. The idea eventually, I believe, that they had mentioned, Stern mentioned, not Farsight, was that if you could get it out in beta form out to the public, then they could test their code with real users, rather than wait for it to hit the market and then tweak the code. Because again, it's virtual, it's all digital, and by nature of being digital, you have Farsight build it, then you give it to your engineers at Stern. Now they're able to actually play it, not Whitewood, but play a digital version with your code, and see how it goes. You can make all sorts of tweaks then digitally. Hey, here's a new CAD file.
That's right.
Let's try this, and see how it functions. So I'm not concerned right now, because I think that Stern's very much in a wait and see approach, and Farsight obviously needs to get in a rhythm and know how to produce these tables so that they could be truthful with Stern about saying, hey, we can turn around a table once you give us all the files in X amount of time, and then
That's
maybe
right.
it can be worked into the pipeline that way.
Yes.
But for now, I think something being a year out is not terrible.
No, there's a lot of good titles that are still in the backlog that they need to get into, like things like Metallica and all these other ones that are like still waiting to be done. There's a lot of meat that they can get into there. Yeah. So let them cut their teeth on those ones, and then, as you say, after they get accustomed to how delivery works and the quality levels that Stern require as the client in the app, then I guess they'll be in a better position to then estimate how long it's going to take them to do this.
Yes.
Hmm.
But of course, that's just us speculating, which is our favorite thing to do.
Which we're accustomed to doing. So,
yes, if you expected things to change in 2017 for the BlahCade podcast, you are sorely mistaken.
Yeah, it's probably going to remain.
Speaking of sorely disappointed, have you checked out our T-shirts yet?
Yeah. yeah, that's
because
right.
We're sorely disappointed that nobody's buying them. But hey, if you want to buy them, you can go ahead and go to represent.com/BlahCade-shirt, and then you'll be able to purchase one. And as usual, you can check out the show notes at our website, BlahCadePinball.com. That's where any of the links that we talk about in the show get posted, so that you don't have to write them down while you're listening. Why don't you check us out on Twitter? We are at BlahCade for the show proper, but if you want to hear more personal musings, then you can go at Jared Morgs and see what the convict down under enjoys talking about. Most of it has to do with doc writing.
Yep, technical writing and pinball and funny things that developers do.
Yes.
Programming related stuff. So if that's your bag, then follow away.
Exactly.
Otherwise, get stuff.
If your bag is more in line with movies and entertainment, then why don't you go ahead and follow me at Shut Your Traps on Twitter. You can also email us. We do appreciate the emails. We enjoy seeing if you have any show topics that you'd like us to touch upon. We've got a rather large list that we'll start getting into next week. But you can email us blahcade@gmail.com.
Another prop for me, if you like really cool tropical storm pictures, any that roll over North Lakes, I take photos of, and they're normally pretty impressive. So if you don't live in an area with big tropical storms, that's another reason to follow my Twitter.
Wow, how about that?
There you go.
There you go. Hey, we really do appreciate you listening to us, and we enjoy doing this. Get ready for a full year more of our nonsense and blathering. And if you're interested in hearing more about the movies that I saw in 2016, and actually looking forward to some movies in 2017, then once you download the BlahCade Backroom, that'll be coming up presently. All right, Jared, until next week, adios.
Adios, amigos.
All right, that's our timeout, and now I'll jump real quickly, and this will be a short back room probably, if you've got the time.
Okay, I might end up. I'm actually running a bit short on time, to be honest. Do you want to do it? Okay. First up, we'll do it next week, and then we'll add it on as a back room continued next week, yeah, we'll do it like that.
Okay, I can handle that. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty then. We will chat again next week then.
Okay. See you later, because I've got to sort of start doing dinner. It's like, it's only 3:06 here, but I got to go and yeah, sort of plan it, because I'm now sort of catching up to you. in the times. Catching up to you in the past.
In the past.
because time zones are hard. Yeah.
All right, man.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you guys are getting rain over there, incidentally. It's good that you guys are actually getting it. Hopefully it's hitting the catchments.
Well, the good thing is with, like I said, with 20 feet of snow up in Mammoth, that's exactly what we need. We need the snowpack. The rain itself just goes and flows into the ocean. But the snow.
So you don't have dams.
We have. So
you don't actually have dams there.
No, we have reservoirs.
Yeah. Okay.
But
they're mostly in the snow regions.
Yeah. Then apparently 3 of the reservoirs are almost at capacity. They're going to have to start releasing water down to some of the Southern California reservoirs.
Guys,
so
that's really good.
Yeah, but the bad part is that we tear through our water like no tomorrow. So, and they said I think they said we need something like 4 or 5 winters worth of heavy rain to get us out of the drought, because what it is all of our groundwater is gone.
Oh, right. So it's actually your underground reservoirs are well just tapped.
Yep.
They're just stuffed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't help when you got a company like Nestle who goes and buys land and then drills and pulls out all the water, and then they drill sideways and pull out water from where they shouldn't be pulling out water, and then goes around and they're saying that water is not a human right. You should have to pay for it.
It's like, whatever.
Yeah. Of course, we're also in a state where some people put out big barrels and collect rainwater.
Yep.
And apparently that's illegal.
Oh, because of mosquitoes and stuff.
Nope, because you're taking water away from the city.
Right, that would run down the pipes into the sewer.
Yeah, it's like, what? So.
Yeah, right. Taking water away from the city. What a load of crap. We got tanks here.
Yeah.
But like in Australia, there was a point at which they actually banned the use of water tanks because of risk of mosquito outbreaks and stuff. But they've brought them back in, and they've almost mandated that every new house built in Australia now, or at least up here in Queensland, must have at least a 5 megalitre tank installed.
Wow.
So that's 5,000 litres. Our tank out the back is 5,000 litres. But that's nothing. That will do our washing and our toilet flushing for a month without rain, pretty much. So it's up in the bucket, really. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
there are some houses that actually... where if you're out in the bush, you actually have like 100,000 kiloliter tank, or 100 kiloliter tank under your house that you build your house on.
Well, it's interesting. There is a big push, obviously, with us being Southern California or California in general, filled with a bunch of ecological warriors. That's the nice way of putting it, right? There's a lot of people that have fought it, and they're trying to get it so that you can collect water if you have a certain kind of permit and a certain way of setting up the tanks, and the guarantee that's being used, only for watering your plants or X, Y, or Z, certain things
not
like
for
that.
Drinking, basically.
Right, but it's also one of those things where it's like the more we get that kind of conversation going. I don't know if you've heard, but Elon Musk with the solar company that he owns. They came out with the solar tiles that look like roofing.
Oh, yeah.
But from the ground, they don't look like solar panels. It's only when you're above them that they look from solar panels. And it's like, you need to install these all across California on any house. And he's trying to make it so that the cost of installation of these things is actually cheaper than a regular roof.
Really?
Yeah, because he basically wants to make it so that it's the no-brainer choice. Now, here's the thing. You buy the solar roof, right? But what else do you need? You need a battery to store it, all the power.
You need a battery.
Hey,
a Tesla battery, yo.
Exactly. Guess who makes that?
And you need a big sucker because that's a lot of electricity you got to store. So So the panels might be cheap, but you're gonna have to pay $30,000 for the battery. Cha-ching, smart man, that Musk.
It's one of those things where it's like, with as much sun as we get and as the lack of rain that we get, there's no reason.
It's like a no-brainer.
There's no reason why Southern California shouldn't just be solar roofs everywhere. And I've noticed.
Really funny you mentioned. Well, sorry, I just remembered too that in Brisbane, they actually did a roof analysis of the CBD, and they worked out that if all the buildings in the CBD had solar panels fitted to them, like solar arrays, they could generate something to the order of savings of about $30 million a year in electricity costs for the CBD precinct alone.
Jeez.
Because there's all this like real estate. Like we got stadiums here that if they put solar panels on the roof, I think they said it'd be something like $200 million to fit out all the roofs under government money, and they would make that money back in savings in 7 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That's it. Yeah, it is. It really is ridiculous. So,
well, it's funny because I've noticed some of the houses in our tract have recently gotten solar panels, and it used to be that you couldn't put solar panels up unless you could hide them from street view. And these solar panels are boom, front of the house, front roof, and it does kind of look ugly. Right. I mean, I gotta say, it's not really attractive, but
they're not super pretty. But
you know what? I'm more about practicality. It's like, hey, you know what? Go for it.
If they're cheap enough over there for you to get them, because we have companies over here dedicated to selling solar panels and solar fit-outs. Yeah. And like, there's this one called True Value Solar over here, which is nationwide, and they just at one point when the government was giving out grants to get your roofs solar panel fitted, like they had a 4-month waiting period until you could get them up. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
So yeah, the solar here is same sort of problem really. Like California, I think, and us in Brisbane are pretty much the same sort of climate.
We're actually identical to Sydney.
Oh yeah. Except you don't really get snow where you are. It's only when you go into the mountains. But yeah, it's
but
the environment's practically the same.
We're at the same longitude. Just
Meridian.
on different, meridian, whatever. Because when I visited Sydney, it was like, oh, holy smokes, this is exactly the weather I'm used to. When I went up to Brisbane, it was a little more humid. It seemed, where we don't have any humidity.
It's more humid up here.
Yeah,
Sydney doesn't really have any humidity that much, but Brisbane does because we're just high enough to be subtropical.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it certainly wasn't Can.
So yeah, solar panels, man. Well, yeah, that's right.
Can was I
should go, man. Can's just like a sweat ball. Like you go up there and you just like steam and broil in the humidity up there. It's gross. You actually go up there in winter, and it's like summer. It's ridiculous, horrible. Anyhow, I will go, and you're actually still recording, by the way.
I know. Hey, how about that? You got a whole back room, and you didn't expect it.
Yeah, that's right. Back room. I might even put some bits in. Who knows?
All right, man.
I'll make it a back room. All right. See you later.
Okay, later.